Congressman, good to see you. The Democrats don't have a great track record. You know, they left thousands of Americans and vetted Afghan allies behind in Afghanistan. That's a Democrat value. They leave their own people behind. They've made sure Iran is flush with cash to finance their terrorism. And now the Biden-Harris regime granting sweetheart plea deals with 3 of these al-Qaeda terrorists behind the 9/11 attacks, denying those 9/11 families their day in court. You know, with friends like Democrats, Congressman, who needs enemies?
Well, it's stunning. It's stunning what's occurred, and I agree. It started with Afghanistan. You have Ukraine on $180 billion in. Still no plan, no objectives, just money. You have Iran launching ICBMs directly at Israel. Directly. And our response? Well, we'll shoot them down. And then the Houthis, of course, all led by Iran. What's our response? We go, 85 porta potties in the desert. Sanctions, you listed the amount of failures, and it leads to there is no trust. Our allies don't trust us. Our enemies clearly don't fear us. And this administration pulls off on the way out. They violate, for every American, I please go look at those 2 holes in New York and read the names of the first responders, the ladder crews, the firemen, all on those holes of where those 2 buildings stood, and the evil that brought them down and the lives they have ruined. And the plea deal with terrorists, stunning.
Yeah, well, stunning, but very Democrat. The Secret Service, in the meantime, Congressman, the latest federal agency to fall under the woke DIE agenda. Whistleblower revealing that the Secret Service did not perform a threat assessment at the rally venue where President Trump was nearly assassinated. The allegation states that it was the new acting director, Ronald Rowe, that personally directed the cuts to the agents in charge of threat assessments. Now tell me why the American taxpayer should fund a federal government that has been loaded with Democrat political operatives and failing in the federal government's missions.
Well, here's what the task force is going to determine, as you rightly point out. And I kind of divide it as a former Navy SEAL. And look, I've been on diplomatic security. I've been in charge of heads of state, protection. And I divide it really quickly into 2. Pre-shot, and you look at the surveillance, the lack of comms. They had the shooter identified. The number of mistakes, negligence, this program's not long enough. And then post-shot. You remember Ronald Reagan was shot 1.5 seconds he was in the car. The round actually didn't hit him directly. It was bounced off the armor. Well, what happens with President Trump? He's bleeding. If you've ever been on a pop-up range or, a range, they hit him. And so you don't know whether it's 1 shooter, 2 shooter. It could be one of those guys in Las Vegas, remember, that had unlimited ammo and killed about 50. So what happens? He's hit. Rather than wrap him up in a ballistic blanket and take him away from the scene, they actually allow 2 more pop-ups. They're like a target. And so this is the bottom line. We know there's negligence. We know there's incompetence. We know there's violation of protocol, et cetera, et cetera. Was it willing and intentional? That's where the rubber hits the road. If it was willing intentionally to atrophy the security in a position to allow the president of the United States, whether Trump or Biden, to reduce his security profile to invite, in many cases, an attack, that is serious. So to me, there's a big difference between assassination, attempt and a plot. And I guarantee you the task force, the speaker put some good people on board. Mike Waltz is in there. All of us are going to be able to ask questions and get to the truth because America wants to know, I want to know, and you want to know.
Yes, sir. And I think it's a travesty that the agencies that continue to fail and fail and fail, that the Congress of the United States keeps on dedicating my taxpayer money, my grandchildren's taxpayers' money, my great-great-grandchildren's taxpayers' money to a failing endeavor when we have no guardrails and the Congress clearly, sir, has no ability to rein in a federal leviathan that is this large and unaccountable. Congressman Zinke, I really appreciate your time here on the Chris Salcedo Show. We'll talk to you again soon, sir.